are a few things about me that are very senior citizen-like.
That's great. Oh man. Okay, so you've done a lot of research on this, though.
I've done a fair amount. Yeah, I've looked into it.
Because I don't have the data. I'm not the numbers guy on this. For me, it's a philosophical situation.
Well, and it is more. A lot of the data that there is like 2015 was the most up-to-date data that I could find.
It's got to be tough to get data on this.
Yeah.
Got to be tough.
You guys ready to go?
Yep.
Okay. Start talking. I'll hit record.
Okay.
Do your thing. I won't let you know.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yes.
So you don't have opinion on this?
Well, it's not that I don't have an opinion on this. I have an opinion on a lot of different things. It's just that it isn't a case like sell or don't sell.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the data is overwhelming on one side.
Okay.
In this case, I feel like there is very valid arguments on both sides. You know how sometimes you end up in an argument with somebody and you're like, why are you not seeing it my way? You are insane.
Yes, I do know that. Happens on Facebook a lot.
In this discussion, there are very strong arguments on both sides.
Okay.
That make logical sense.
Okay. And I understand both sides of those arguments. I happen to have a very specific opinion on this situation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to keep that. I'm going to try to stay neutral for a few minutes.
Okay.
So that we can explore the arguments.
Okay.
So you think there are good arguments on both sides. There should be, vacation rentals should be allowed.
Yes.
And it's tough because there's the middle ground of, well, they're allowed, but they're regulated. There's these rules, you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way. And that's kind of the third option. There's, hey, they should be allowed, you own a piece of real estate, it's yours, you should be able to do whatever you want with it. Then there's the, no, they shouldn't be able to do this because this isn't what this stuff is for, and there's a whole lot of bad things that could come with it. And then there's the middle ground of you can do it, but it has to be done this way. So do you see any one of those three as being a more prominent right answer in this situation?
Well, I tend to be against government involvement, overly involved. At the same time,
What are you, Antifa?
In this case, I do think this is one of the situations where it puts a lot of power in the average person's hands. And a lot of in preparation for our discussion here today, I did a fair amount of research, and a lot of that research is discussing the idea that short-term vacation rentals, STVRs, have been around forever. They've been around for a very long time. It's only more recently with the commercialized side of it that now we get the average homeowner having the ability to say, hey, anybody, I'm going to make my own price, show up, come to my house, don't really care about what you do in the house, keep it legal, keep it clean, and then give me my money.
It's because of Airbnb and VRBO.
Exactly.
That's what's caused this.
That's what's caused the change. And just so we understand what the city is for right now, the city says if you are owner-occupied and you are renting out if you're doing a short-term vacation rental in your own property, that's fine. So a bed and breakfast, totally fine, up to 90 days per year, so not a huge amount of time. What they don't want is I leave town and decide my whole house, you can rent it out. I'm totally fine with that. Just go ahead and do that and rent it all out and send me the money. That's what the city and that's what most homeowners, that's the argument against. So let's flesh out the arguments here. So first, what are the positive things to it?
Okay.
San Diego doesn't have a tremendous amount of industry. The industry that we have are the military, thank you for your service. We have, so Marines and Navy. We have Qualcomm, we have some biotech, and number one, we have tourism.
Yep. So
people come, that's why they've gutted the gas lamp and it looks gorgeous, that's why they put millions upon millions upon millions of dollars in the convention center. That's the whole, my opinion, a big reason for the change downtown is because of tourism.
No question, and like you're saying, that's the San Diego thing. Like where I'm from in Missouri, there isn't a whole lot of vacation rentals. Like you can't just say, oh, I'm going to buy this house and make it a vacation rental, and then it changes the whole landscape. It really can only happen in a place like San Diego.
Right. And also because there are so many interesting communities that if you wanted to spend some time, it's not all about the ocean. We've got beautiful areas downtown, North Park, Hillcrest, those areas, South Park. There's some beautiful areas by Balboa Park. There's so much to do. Carlsbad, you've got Legoland, and yes, you have some coast up there, but there are other attractions which attract people, which bring people to San Diego. It's not all about beach. And so the numbers that I looked at were from 2015, so almost 3 years ago now. They found that let me get these numbers right, $130 million was paid in 2015 based on the lodging. That's how much money came in for lodging of short-term vacation rentals, $130 million.
Okay.
And then they estimated that of that $130 million that people paid, those people spent $80 million at local businesses, restaurants, bars, whatever it may be. Now, of course, the other argument is, it's not like if there's no short-term vacation rentals that those people go, well, we're not going to San Diego anymore. They can stay in hotels. There are other options. But the lifestyle, the rental style is totally different, 100% different. When I was married, Leah's family, my wife's family came out. They did a short-term vacation rental at a beautiful property in Claremont. It was a big house, 6 bedrooms. They had 20 people there. Great time. That was the first time that I had met them. Beautiful property, big landscape, ocean view. It's beautiful. They can't get that experience at a Hilton.
100%. There's no question that they're better, more fun than the hotels.
Right.
No doubt about it. And the hotel industry, has tried to put a stop to this. They tried to put the kibosh on it for a long time.
Right.
And now seriously trying to do so because it is a danger. That's where the money would have gone. That $130 million would have poured into the hotels in San Diego.
Right.
And that it is a big industry. The hotels have a lot of employees. There's, there are a lot of good things about the hotels.
Right.
They're also very convenient. I mean, think about it this way. Let's talk about some of the dangers as I lean into my opinion on this, because the hotels represent what we would call, I hate to use the word transient, but transient lodging, like people who are coming and going, right?
Right.
This is the lodging for people who want to do that. And it's a nice setup because it's very organized. When you start doing it as an individual, when Steve Ploetz becomes a hotel,
Right.
that starts to create all sorts of other problems. Now, what it does for real estate, and this is one of the positives, is it allows real estate prices to stay higher and to go higher.
Right.
Probably much higher than they should be. There are a lot of homes on the coast that now will sell for really, really high prices, not necessarily for anything other than the fact that you can vacation rent them and get $200,000 a year in vacation rental income.
Yeah.
So because of that, it requires a multiple that makes it worth now this much money.
Right.
But there's no other reason for that. In other words, if vacation rentals weren't allowed, this property would be worth significantly less than what it is. So sort of, and I don't want to say artificial because it is real, but it sort of creates a layer of fluff in the value of the property. And that now affects all the properties, even the ones that Steve Ploetz just wants to live in.
Right.
It affects the value of that property too, which starts to make it less affordable. And then it only becomes affordable in a lot of minds to people who are planning to vacation rent the property.
Right.
So it's a domino effect that's very dangerous. And I understand there's a lot of money in it, and that's great. I think that the danger is, in my grand real estate concern, and I know this probably won't be an issue in the Midwest, but my grand real estate concern is that individuals will not be able to own homes in the future. Is it that hard to picture 200 years from now, 100 years from now, 50 years from now? The average person just not being able to buy a home? Not even being possible. Not possible because the prices are so high that you have to be ultra wealthy to own a home.
Well, I mean, look at somebody that's 22 years old right now. That they come out of college with $50,000 worth of debt, we'll say.
100,000.
Yeah, probably.
Its average is 80 now.
Is it?
For a degree.
That they come out working a job where they make $50,000. And entry-level homes in this market, in most normal communities, is a $500,000 to $600,000 purchase.
Right.
And that's why we've talked about a new demographic of buyer that we're starting to see is this assisted buyer, which is buyer makes $50,000 a year and has good credit or limited credit, but they don't have the $200,000 to put down, so mom and dad will assist, or that they'll get a loan from somebody or a down payment assistance program. I don't think that I think that what's going to happen in the market, and this will be a very short tangent, is that prices are going to get to a point where first-time homebuyers cannot crack in anymore, and things are going to have to adjust. Because, exactly as you say, otherwise, let's say the market in 50 years, 100 years is to a place where the average homeowner can't get in, then tell me how that becomes a good investment. If I need to turn around and sell my home, I'm selling it to such a small slice of the pie in terms of...
You're selling it to Wall Street. That's the problem. Is everyone will have to rent. So big, huge hedge funds will own all the property.
Oh, this sounds like a bad movie.
I know. I'm just telling you, this is, if Wall Street hadn't been so crippled during the financial crisis, this is what they were planning to do. They just couldn't do it quick enough because the capital was too scarce. They were trying to do it. They did it in lots of places. There are entire neighborhoods, there are huge areas, not only in San Diego, but all over the country, where thousands of homes in one particular area are owned by hedge funds, and they just rent them. And if they had their way, they'd own all the homes. Why not? Then you can completely control the prices, what people have to pay. Now, again, people can only pay what they can pay. So it's not like you can just say $1 million rent. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
But at the same time, it doesn't allow for the free market. So I'm really torn because I'm a free market guy. So I believe that if you own a piece of property, you should be able to do whatever you want with it. If you want to rent it to Steve on Monday night and Jade on Tuesday night and Rebecca on Wednesday night, and you want to charge them whatever you want to charge them, you should be able to do that. So that's one part of philosophically where I'm coming from on this. But I see the danger. And the danger is getting away, using real estate strictly as business and having it be more and more about business and less about home ownership. And when I say home ownership, I mean owning a home with no loan. Meaning I own this home. It's mine.
Right.
And I can pass it down and we can stay here without a mortgage and we can retire. Like, that's what it's supposed to be about. It's gotten too commercial. And of course, we're always talking about this at the top of markets.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's typically, it's been a great run. We've had like 6-7 years of straight up prices. So maybe when things correct a little bit, this won't be such a hot topic. But right now, those are the two. So that's where I'm torn personally, is that, okay, an individual should be able to do whatever they want, but this is a very dangerous situation. So here's my opinion on the situation, Steve.
Double secret opinion.
This secret is bigger than Steve's wallet. It was the actual physical wallet. That's not even like...
That's my whole life is in there.
Jay, can you grab Steve's wallet so that I can just so I can share
this? Public shaming here?
This is wallet shaming, okay? So this is also, no, don't throw it. I don't want to get hurt. So this is like, you know what the George Costanza wallet? Does anyone remember Seinfeld? Look at the size of this thing. Look at this.
You know what's in there? Coupons.
Coupons?
Double coupons.
Well, lunch is on you, I guess. This could really hurt someone with this.
Oh yeah, actually, I got jumped once and I pulled out my wallet and bludgeoned the guy.
You just bludgeoned him like a brick. Just hit him with it. So what here, let's do this, because while we're on the wallet subject, I actually have my wallet on me today. Let me show you this, Steve. Look at this. Okay? That's all that's necessary.
But what if you walk into a restaurant
right there,
and you're wondering if you have a coupon?
That's one man's wallet versus another right there. Your wallet
is like,
your wallet is bigger than mine.
4 men's wallets. Yeah.
But the thing here. So here's my specific solution. I think individual property owners should be able to do whatever they want. So if I own a property, Derek Evans, if I own a property and I own just one property, I should be able to do whatever I want. Now, if it's the case that, and maybe it could be 2 properties or something, but if I as an individual am doing it, I think you have to allow it, because that's part of a free market. That's part of America. But if I'm a business and I'm buying properties, in other words, an LLC, a corporation, a hedge fund, then you cannot do it. Because you're not going to be able to stop corporations from buying homes and long-term renting them. You'll never be able to stop that. That's business.
Right.
You could say that corporations can't purchase residential real estate. You could make that law, but that would be a big hindrance and very anti-American in my opinion. However, individuals should be able to do whatever they want. But we could put the kibosh on corporations doing vacation rentals.
And I think this is what's so interesting about residential real estate as compared to other classes of investments, is that it straddles the line between emotion and business. Is that many, I mean, we've talked about it many times. There are many clients that I represent where resale value is a factor, but it's probably number 19 on the list. And above that is open kitchen and school district and do I love this house? So that's the interesting balance that real estate has. I think that from the negative sides is you aren't going to find 3 people in San Diego County that would say, I am comfortable with a short-term vacation rental being next door to my primary residence. Not an investment, but this is where I live, this is where my wife and I live, this is where we raise our family, and oh, by the way, right next door or sharing a wall with us is somebody that is going to be here for 2 days and then they're gone and then somebody else will be showing up. And then the property will be vacant for 2 or 3 doors. We can recognize, I say we as citizens of San Diego, we can recognize that $130 million in lodging and $80 million in, that was brought in that those people spent on local businesses, that's a good idea, but not in my backyard. Yeah, we need sewage treatment plants too, but not in my backyard. And I think that becomes the challenge of it, is that's where regulation in terms of maybe designating specific communities, I think that some beach communities should have the ability to do short-term vacation rentals. Because exactly as you're saying, it's propping up the values of those properties, but also you're not going to put somebody in there for $20,000 a month for 6 months. At $120,000, nobody's going to do that. But I think it requires some level of, not of regulation, but at least of some requirements, and that certain requirements might need to be met. And maybe you have to be an individual. I think you walk a tricky line there when you're saying you can't be an LLC, but you can be an individual, but we'll allow you to have 1, maybe 2 places, and you can then do what you want with it.
Well, I mean, I think if you own a home and it's your home, you should be able to do what you want to do with it. I just think there's no way to get around doing that. I mean, now there's HOA rules with a lot of these condos and stuff where they say you can't do it or it has to be 30 days or whatever. And I'm, where I live right now in Delmar is very, much a vacation rental area.
Right.
But they have very strict rules there about how to do it, how to go about it, and you're 100% correct. The issue with being the person who lives next to the vacation rental property is that every few days someone comes there who's just there for a few days and they want to live it up.
Right.
They're going to be loud, they're going to make noise.
And not 100% of vacation rentals.
Not 100%.
But for every vacation, for 9 great short-term vacation rental tenants, there is the bachelor party of 16 guys that are in 2 or 3 bedrooms. And that nobody wants that living next door. 0
Even
people.
just for a few days.
Even with an invite, I'd probably be like, I'm gonna have to be a little busy.
Yeah.
So where do we put
What do you think
that?
about zoning? Is zoning the solution? Would it have to be a situation where it has to be zoned a certain? Because essentially that's what it's sort of becoming. Like you have right now, you have residential zoning, you have commercial zoning, and maybe this is some sort of a different type of zoning, vacation rental, a V-rated zoning. Or you could say, hey, this is zoned V, so it could be a vacation rental. Then that way you can, at least the city could control how much of it is going on and sort of regulate that element of it to it. Because there's also, what a lot of people don't see is the risk side. Now right now, real estate's been great, economies have been great, tourism has been great. But if you're buying that vacation rental property and paying that additional fluff price because of the vacation rental aspect and things turn south, that particular property is going to be, that haircut is going to come off first.
Right.
So it becomes much more risky. Now, will people stop coming to San Diego? Probably not. But can you weather a bad year or 2 is the question.
Yeah,
and if you're
I
not
completely
prepared
agree.
for that, then that could be a really sticky situation and a short sale ultimately is what that would be.
Yeah, I'm not sure if zoning is the solution. I think that it's a step in a correct direction. That I think that there needs to be an understanding of what's happening and how it's happening. We all know people. I know somebody that lived downtown, and she had said that during Comic-Con and certain big events that her and her husband would go rent or go spend a night in a hotel or go to a friend's house and sleep on the couch for a long weekend, and they would make their mortgage payment in short-term vacation rental for one weekend. So because the prices are so high, and of course high-rise in downtown, the HOA did not allow it, but who's going to be able to figure that out since it's one weekend? And they felt like the benefits were too high, so hard to regulate.
Yeah, it is tough to regulate, no question about it.
And I'm not sure that we want to, as a society, we want to hire people to check up on everybody and check up on, well, let's go through the VRBO website and let's check out Airbnb and see if there's any properties that are in the wrong communities.
I agree, and we don't want to do that. And that's what I mean by it's very un-American to think about something like that, isn't it? So if it's the case that there's going to be a rule made, the point of the rule is going to be so that if someone is out of line, right? Like a lot of rules are made not because they don't expect anyone, like speed limits, you know? It's a rule, but it's sort of it's a guideline. It's like, okay, hey, listen, if we don't like the way you're driving, this is something we can get you in trouble for. But how many times have you sped and not, first of all, gotten caught or been seen by the police and not been pulled over? Probably a lot, right?
A fair amount.
A fair amount, right?
I'm on camera here, so I kind of feel like I need to.
Last time I got pulled over in La Jolla for going right on a red where there was no right on red. And it was a motorcycle cop who pulled me. He actually pulled me and another guy over. We both did the same thing. He pulled us both over. One guy pulled us both over at the same time. It was completely ridiculous. So he was like, yeah, there's no right on red there. I'm like, oh, wow, and I owe you guys a bunch of money.
And tell me he laughed.
He did.
And he said,
I thought he let me off, but
he didn't.
No. Because I got something in the mail, and then I tried to check and look up my case and pay it, and it wasn't in there. And I was like, man, I think he let me off. So $289 later.
That's a great story.
Couldn't believe he pulled us both over. I was like, who does this guy think he is?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. But you know, when there's rules, it's not necessarily that, okay, we expect everyone to follow these rules to a T. It's that, hey, if you can do whatever you want and not piss anyone off, then you're fine. But if you start pissing people off, they can bring these rules to the proper authorities' attention. You know, that's what it's really about. So yeah, right now you can do whatever you want. I mean, you can vacation rent your condo in a complex that says you can't do it. But that dude at the Mark a couple years ago, I think it was, he had to pay $109,000 in fines to the HOA because he did it. They told him stop, and he said, no, this is my place. I can do whatever I want. And they said, no, you can't. And he said, yes, I can. And he kept doing it, and he kept renting it. And then eventually they sued him.
And won.
Yeah, 109 grand. So now in that case, even that guy had an opportunity to say, okay, I'll stop. Sorry, I didn't know, my bad, and would have been fine. It was only his relentless pursuit, his stubbornness, that cost him the 100K. So I think the idea of a rule is really lame. I think adding more laws just sucks. You know, adding more rules sucks. There's already so many rules.
Right.
And they add tens of thousands of pages to the laws every year. Can you imagine what the list of laws looks like? How could you possibly know all this stuff? Even if you were an attorney, how could you possibly know? So I like the idea of there not being rules against individuals, but I think from a corporate standpoint, there has to be some kind of regulation put on corporations buying real estate, or what you're going to see, and we're seeing a lot of cash now in the marketplace. The next downturn, these hedge funds will be better positioned to take advantage than they were last time.
So, as a question for you, let's say I have a vacation rental. Let's say I'm an owner and I have a vacation rental that is in one of these coastal communities, because that's normally where they are. What do you recommend?
What should you do?
Yeah.
Sell it. List it. There's a guy I know named Steve Ploetz. Has a huge wallet. Sell it with him. Yeah, sell it. Sell it. If it's a vacation rental and it works and you have rental history, there'll be an investor who says, you know what, I'll trade my $1 million for your $100,000 a year. It's 10%.
And what do you think is going to happen?
I don't know.
I mean, Delmar is kind of ground zero of where all this stuff is really happening.
It is. Well, I think smaller areas like Delmar are just going to simply outlaw it, just across the board, just say this, you can't do this. Now, again, they say you can't do this, but then you have to get in trouble for it. They have to prove it, and then what's the penalty? So, you're not going to go to jail or anything like that, but you might have to write a big check.
Yeah.
So, if you're an investor, that's not what you're looking to do. You're looking to put checks in the bank.
Right.
So, I think from the Delmar perspective, it's a tough market to look at as, hey, this is what's going to happen everywhere else, because not everywhere is like Delmar.
Right.
The Delmartians are very interesting folks, especially from a city government standpoint. However, what I think is going to happen is long term, the trend is resources are coming to San Diego. If you could plot resources on a heat map, you would see they're funneling in from all over the world and coming towards San Diego.
Is this what it looks like?
That's what it is. They're just coming from everywhere and piling into the lower left-hand part of your map. And what happens when resources come to a place like this is that it becomes very obvious that that's what's happening, and there's very obvious reasons why. The only reason San Francisco is so far ahead of San Diego is because it was just simply settled first. People found gold there, and they went there, and that was 170 years ago, you know? Like, it's time now for people to realize that San Diego is not Mexico. People thought San Diego was Mexico. I remember when I first looked at San Diego on the map, I was like, gosh, that's Mexico. I'm from Missouri. I've never been to California. I'm like, man, that's pretty much Mexico. It's not Mexico. It's the United States of America. People are realizing this, Steve.
We need to have a geography discussion.
This is a geography lesson.
With your
Let's
high
pull out
school
your map.
teacher.
You have the full scale map in here.
Actually got a globe in there. You just shake it out.
It's like the Hermione Wallet for guys, Steve Ploetz. So, but you know, people have realized that. So the resources are coming to San Diego, and it's now on the map. Internationally, it's on the map. We're seeing tons of cash. I've been looking at tons of transactional activity information lately, and seeing the number of cash transactions, which we've known has been about 1/3 in San Diego for a long time, and that's just simply a sign that international big money has its eyes on San Diego. And it doesn't take too long after that before people start going, how can I make money on this? I'm talking about guys with billions of dollars sitting like this with other guys who have billions of dollars and going, how can we capitalize on this? We have huge wallets. We want to make them bigger. So what do? Well, we buy the real estate, obviously.
Yeah, buy something tangible.
Yeah. Now, there are still a lot of guys doing it the old-fashioned way. They're building apartment buildings. They're building high-rises. They're building commercial strip malls. They're building malls. Did you see the thing in Carlsbad, Measure A? I'm sure you were familiar with that. Was that 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Caruso was the builder. I mean, everything I saw, people painted him out to be the devil, you know, up in Carlsbad, at least from what I saw on the anti side. The pro side, I saw everything that he'd done was extremely, like, upstanding. I mean, you know, and he spent $10 million on this thing and didn't get anything out of it. They didn't approve the thing.
Well, and I think most San Diegans, to generalize all of us, are against development and against the idea that once I get in, close the door right behind me.
Yeah.
I want in, and I want to make sure everything's good for me, and then close the door.
Yeah.
No one else.
Yeah. This is it. You're too late. But what are we pushing these guys to do? The guys like Caruso with all the money. What are we pushing them to do if we won't let them make their strip malls?
Yeah, then they got to purchase stuff.
They have all this money to deploy their real estate guys. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
You know, you can only build so many tract developments, especially in San Diego.
Right.
I mean, if you look at the number of new homes being built, single-family detached residences, it's just like this. It's approaching zero. It's getting close. If you look at just the percentages of resale versus REO versus short sale versus new construction of just the transactions that are taking place,
Right.
It's ridiculously lopsided. You can't even see the bar on the new construction graph. So what are we pushing these guys to if we won't let them build this stuff? If we make the cost of construction so prohibitive, from the developments downtown to the high-rise developments uptown that they're trying to make happen, you know, infill is really the only thing that's kind of like, oh yeah, you guys can do that, you know, 1 unit at a time, you know, buy one lot, you know, knock that house down, build a better one.
Right.
They're going, why the hell would I want to do that? Why would I want to go through all that trouble when I can just sit back here and wait for this market to come in, and then I'll just buy everything? Why wouldn't I do that?
I need to be at this billionaire's table.
The wallet's big enough. If the wallet
They
fits.
probably have a little wallet check, sir. All right, come on in, Ploetz.
Let's weigh it on the scales. All right, good enough. So that's what they're thinking. I'm just telling you, that's what they're thinking. That's what they're going through. That's what they're facing. They're trying the old-fashioned way. They're trying to go, through the whole, let me get the permits, let me do the, the council meetings, let me, what did Caruso do? He had a bus that shipped people from Carlsbad, I think it was every week, or maybe it was every day, it was a lot, from Carlsbad all the way up to LA, where they had a similar style mall. They did it for free. They'd take like 50 people on this bus, and then bring them back.
Yeah.
So they could see, look, this is what we're going to build. It's going to be amazing. I mean, why do all that crap, Steve? Why go through that whole rigmarole when you might lose? Guys with big money don't like situations where they might lose. They want the sure thing. And I think the only thing that's a sure thing is buying residential real estate in a place where people want to be. Same reason why it's a good idea for individuals to do the same thing.
It kind of sounds to me like you're switching to the gray beer theory, that you really need to purchase real estate and hang on to it because you're going to compete with some billionaires. Are you?
Every individual should have it in their game plan to own a home. Every family needs a family home. I'm telling you, 100 years from now, when every person who's on this planet right now is not here anymore, and there's a whole new set of 9 or 10 billion people.
I just want you to know.
You're in great health. You might need
You are
a chiropractor.
You are in great health as well.
So if in 100 years, it is going to be very difficult. The people who own real estate will be people who are like, yeah, my great-grandfather bought this house.
Old money.
And that's the only way, and we keep getting offered all this money for it. But where will we go? We'd have nowhere to go,
Do people talk like this in the future?
Yes,
Do they have this?
They're very slow and methodical individuals as they're trying to think about, should I sell my 3-bedroom, 2-bath for $4 million to BlackRock? Where are we going to go? Well, we can move to Thailand. We could go to Missouri. No, do you know how cheap it is to
The future looks
live?
bleak.
Do you know how cheap it is to live in Thailand?
No,
it's a
I do not know how cheap it is.
Have you been to Thailand?
I have not.
We should go.
Hey.
You, Leah, me, Tanya, Thailand, 1 week. Life-changing. But one of the things that you'll realize when you go there is that this place is pretty freaking amazing. Thailand is great. It's a beautiful tropical paradise. It's extremely inexpensive to live there. In fact, you could live off of $100 a month.
Wow.
You could live like
But you got to live in Thailand.
Correct. But I mean, ocean views, like beautiful things to see and do, incredible landscape, everything you want. But you're right. Yeah, it's Thailand. It's not San Diego.
Yeah.
$1,000 a month, you can live like a king. A king. And this is, yes, an FYI to all of the healthy retired military guys. Like if you if you want to just take your retirement and run to Thailand and live there, you can. But it's not here.
Right.
It's not here. So I'm not saying that it's doom and gloom and you'll be totally displaced and the world will end. I'm just saying the beautiful, amazing places in the United States of America, and you've already seen it happen in some of them, like San Francisco, will be so priced out for the average person.
Yeah.
It will be impossible unless mom or dad left you a house. So what I'm saying is, if you are that young individual, if you're that me or that you, who you're in your 30s and you have the ability to buy a home, don't buy it for the sake of, hey, I'm buying this house because this is where we are in our life right now, and in 7 years I'll buy another house. Buy a house that you can give to your kids, that they can give to their kids, and they can give to their kids. Think about, I know it's crazy.
This is a lot of pressure for me walking a buyer around to say, well, I don't really care if you guys like this. Do you think your grandkids will like this house?
No, your great-grandchildren. How about them?
Because this house is going to be in your family forever.
That's how you have to think about it. Because if you think about it that way, Steve, you accomplish two things. Number one, you accomplish your personal goal, which is to have a home that you can retire in. Right? You own a home, free and clear, you're going to be okay. You'll be able to figure the rest out. You'll be able to figure out food and taxes and entertainment. You'll be able to figure that out. The housing payment is always the tough part for people who are retired. So if you have a home that you own, good. So it checks that box, right? If you're buying the house for your grandkids, your great grandkids, then it's going to be there for you.
Right.
So that gets checked. Now the thought process of what is it that my kids actually need to do? And this is super macro financial stuff. This is like deep financial secrets that they don't want you to know. Seriously. If I have that house now and I tell my kids, if I tell my daughter, hey, this house is going to be yours one day. You can raise your family here. If you want to, you have that option. You don't have to, but you can. What kind of options does that open up for her, for exploring her life? Right now, the way that it's done, everyone has to do their own thing.
Right.
So now your kids have to go and they have to get their own education, get their own skill sets, go make their own money, buy their own house. That's also a lot of pressure, which is why a lot of kids go to college, get in huge debt, and then realize it wasn't worth it. If the sphere of options were a little more open, so I could take a look at it and go, all right, well, what's the smart thing to do actually here? What should we do? Should we invest $100,000 in education? Or should we invest it in something else? Or should we do something else? What are we going to do? If you have a paid off home, a place to live in, your options increase for entrepreneurship.
You definitely have a safety net for sure.
You have a big safety net. Now you can say, well, my real dream is to have this kind of business or to do this performance kind of service. Now you have the ability to go and do that. Unfortunately, what happens is a lot of kids will go to school, and then by the time they get out of school, and it's not because they're out of school, it's because they're just finally of age where they know a little bit more about what it is that they like or what they might want to do. They're just finally at that age. Now they say, well, I want to do this I want to start a business like this. Well, you didn't need that $100,000 education for that. You didn't need it. Maybe it helped a little bit. Maybe it didn't hurt. But you don't need it. You really don't. Because you're still going to go make mistakes and have to learn in that business what the right things to do are. So it gives your kids a better opportunity to succeed because they don't have to have the pressure of, like, got to do this, I got to do that, I got to go incur the debt, I got to go spend 5 years doing this. You don't have to do that anymore.
Right.
You could spend that 5 years living at the house, trying different businesses. Maybe you open 3 or 4 different online businesses. Who knows? I don't know. Whatever you want to do. Maybe you try to bake cookies for a living. Whatever. Yeah. You have that ability. That is an ability that most kids don't have. And if they did, I think it could be huge.
And I would say it works for the right people in the right circumstances.
Correct.
There are some people that if they kept that $100,000 and didn't go to school, that $100,000 doesn't help our society or move them forward in any way. And then 3 years down the line, now they are not college educated. They are not in a situation where they've basically burned through $100,000 and gone, well, at least I got mom and dad. I think for my parents' home is paid off. That makes a nice safety net. At the same time, I think that the idea of me wanting to do it myself and make my own mistakes and be on a limited budget and, okay, I'm going to make this, how can I make this work? I think that's the driving piece. That's a whole different discussion, but
no, it's great.
But I think that there's some really valid arguments, and I mean, another discussion is, has college changed? Has the requirement, the need for a college education changed? As a realtor, you don't need a college education. I will say that my experience having gone to university is that it taught me how to think.
We're from England now?
Yeah.
At university, we studied...
Rebecca? Where did she go?
She studied a number of things.
It's Cambridge.
So vacation rentals.
Oh, that's what we're talking about.
So should they be outlawed or not? Putting you on the spot, Steve.
Yes or no? Has to be yes or no?
Yes or no?
No, they should not. They should not be outlawed, but there should be some involvement, some rules with them.
Which there are.
Which, yeah, I mean, there's some basic rules.
So you think basically nothing should change?
I will go on record saying nothing should change.
Nothing should change. Okay. Well, I think we have to protect real estate from corporations. I think that is the greatest threat to the American dream, is that corporations will own all the real estate, and no one who's seeing this will be alive probably when that time comes, but that is what's a-coming. And there's not going to be any way to stop it based on what we currently have set up. And vacation rentals are just one piece of that. But here's the thing that I would caution people with. If you are going to buy a vacation rental, do it cautiously. be careful.
Yeah.
Use a different factor. Maybe you use a typical vacancy factor of 25%. Use a greater one than that. Just be a little bit. Don't buy it for the absolute peak value of what the vacation rental is worth.
Right.
Take a look at it. Be a little bit more cautious about it. What would it be worth if it wasn't a vacation rental?
Yeah. And I know somebody that purchased a vacation rental and then they decided to use it as a second home. So maybe there are other avenues that can you see, is this a place that we would want to live? Is this a place that we would want to visit? Is this something that we'd want to rent to family or convert to a long-term rental? I completely agree.
There are certain areas like Big Bear where it's, that's pretty much what it is.
Right.
I mean, half or 60% of the homes are all vacation rentals.
Right.
That's okay. It's a little mountain town. It's a little destination city. That's kind of what it is. If you didn't have that there, it'd be a big problem. There's no hotels, really. I mean, well, there are, but there's no like big hotel chains up there. There's
Right.
small lodges, I guess you would call them. Maybe 40-unit lodges and things like that up there. But the big hotels can't make it up there because there's too much of this.
Right.
So just that things don't pencil for them. They have to charge so much
Because
money.
it's so seasonal. Yeah.
So seasonal.
Yeah.
That's a very rare situation. San Diego, we pretty much have tourism all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. If you talk to a lot of people that are transit, like if you're a bartender or something, or if you go to places like restaurants and things like that where a lot of people come, like in Delmar is a very destination type
Right.
area. So when we go out and we go out to dinner and we meet people, and we see people coming from all over the freaking place, all over the
Right.
world
Yeah.
coming here. So San Diego is ripe for the vacation rental opportunity. It is a good investment. I mean, on paper, it looks great. And that's a step one for it being a good investment. I just think people who are in vacation rentals might want to take the opportunity now to sell it at what I believe to be the top, if not really close to the top of the market. And with all the headwinds, all the stuff coming downhill with what might happen with vacation rentals, I think the risks outweigh the rewards, the upside from this point.
So, to put you on the spot, should it change? Should it stay the same? Are you for them, against them?
I think if we had to say one way or the other, I'd be against them. I would say, get rid of it. Let the hotels do their thing.
Keeping the streak alive of us being totally oppositional and on completely opposite sides of an issue.
Well, we have hotels. We have things built in for all these in all these different places. It's all there. Get rid of the vacation rentals. Just get rid of it. Get rid of the whole idea. Have people buy homes for the right reason. If we had to go one way or the other.
Right, no, I understand.
There's a lot of middle ground there, but if I had to lean one way or the other, I would say no, it's not good. The inflation of real estate prices hurts everyone, including the people who just want to buy a house and live in a home, and own a home one day. It hurts those people. They have to pay up because 3 guys in the neighborhood are vacation renting, and that makes their properties worth more. And you would think, oh, well, that's great for this person if they bought it before this all happened and now they get to sell it.
Right.
But the person who's buying it has to pay up for it. I just think that's too detrimental, not to mention the risks involved and how that could cause movement in a marketplace. We've seen that happen before here. I just think it's safer if we do outlaw them.
There you have it.
And
the maestro.
That is the end, the maestro. All right. Duck. Bludgeon. This is a serious weapon right here. I mean, you could really.
There's some.
You could crack some skulls on this thing.
Just in case.
There's probably.
I keep that when I go to
brass knuckles
vacant
in there,
houses.
too.
Yeah. Just in case.
All right, Steve Ploetz, everybody.